Hi, everybody. Welcome to Reality Buzz TV. So, you guys, listen, there's a few things that I want to talk about when it comes to the Real Housewives of Durban, part two of the reunion. I want to focus a little bit on the D situation. Okay. The person that was supposed to have been riding somebody's D and the owner of the D being upset about the fact that they're saying his D is being ridden, and then the person that raised the whole thing, them not being upset at that person, instead being upset at somebody different. I will talk about that right now. But I want to mention this, you guys, before we start. I think that my plan needs a team. Okay, I saw him arriving in a blue Cressida which was a nice touch, by the way. Okay, I saw him arrive in a blue Cressida, and I was like, I wonder if he has a blue Cressida. I was a production car, and or did he hire a blue Cressida? And I was like, then he definitely does have money, so he can. I think he needs a team, you guys. You know why? Because there are moments where I feel like he was sweating a lot. Okay, and I know the women have people that are doing their makeup there because if the place was that hot, then the other ladies would also be sweating. Okay, but the ladies were not sweating much, so which made me feel like maybe they're getting the touch ups, in between the takes, in between the breaks, maybe they are, being powdered. So they were not sweating at all, but my player was sweating. So I feel like he needs a team, you guys. I don't know if you would agree with me. Somebody that is gonna make sure that his wardrobe is right, his shoes. When we spoke about that last week, people got upset that we are talking about the shoes. And then now it was just how much he was sweating. I know it's a lot for him to handle these women, but we don't need to see the sweat. We really don't need to see the sweat. So he needs a team. So next time he goes to host the show, he must bring some people that are just going to make sure that he looks all right, okay? Because even the suit looks a little bit big, but we won't talk about that, you know? So he needs to get that sorted. Okay. If he already does have a team, he needs to fire them and get new people because they were obviously not doing that job here. He needs to be able to just focus on resolving the things that they're supposed to resolve on this reunion without thinking about how he is looking. And he was doing that, but I felt like there were things that were not going okay with the way that Maple was looking. Okay. So if you are part of his team, if he already has a team, you guys didn't do your job. You didn't. Okay. Now, you guys, let's talk about the D situation because it does get addressed on the show. And unfortunately, it's getting addressed when Neil has already left, so we don't get to hear his thoughts, his feelings. And sometimes, like, we see the fight and you are taking one side, but when the person comes at the reunion and explains, because the reason I felt like this is because of this. Sometimes we find out that there are things or conversations that took place away from the cameras that made the situation to seem the way that we saw. So now, when he's not there, obviously, we're not getting the full story. But I mean, the best that we can do is get the woman's sides of the story. Let me say this, you guys. Even though he left early without really like getting into it, I was like, it would have been nice to get him to talk about the issues, but at the same time, I'm like, no, it's okay. It's okay that he left. Okay, now you guys, let's talk about Maria and Emeigh. Remember, the person that initially brought up the D situation is Emeigh. And Emeigh never denied it because she brought it up while she was having a back and forth with Maria. She said, listen, do I look like a woman who will sit on people's D's while I'm married? Okay, at the time, besingakazi nanokuthi there was a D at some point and somebody was sitting on it. Okay. Then you guys, they went and had their own private conversations where Emeigh was talking to Ashley and Angel, and they were talking about that situation because all of them were there. They remember what was happening then. Okay. Now, when they are having that discussion, Sorisha is not there. It's Lee, Emeigh, and Angel. They're laughing about the situation. Okay. Then they come back now with Neil having been told the whole thing. Oh, before Neil was told the whole thing, when they are talking about the D situation now sitting at the table and Sorisha is there, then Maria was asking, who's D? I guess maybe she's sitting on too many dicks to remember which one this was, or she doesn't think she's sitting on a D, even though she's sitting on a D. So she was asking, which D, which D, which D? Then Sorisha said, it's nil. Okay? If only she knew, she would have never said that. Okay. Here's the thing, you guys. On this reunion, Maria denies not liking Sorisha. She denies it so much that I even start to almost believe it. But then I remember how this season went and the season before that, because even people that like Maria, they know Maria doesn't like Sorisha, but she always says she doesn't have an issue with Sorisha. I feel like it got to a point where it does not matter what Sorisha does to Maria, she just doesn't like Sorisha. So even with this situation, when they are trying to explain it, Emeigh is asking Maria, listen, I admitted it was me who said that this situation. I came and I apologized to you. And also I apologized to Neil. And when Neil was talking to me, he was very respectful. He was calm. But you guys were still going for Sorisha, who didn't say the thing. The only thing Sorisha said was the name. And the reason Sorisha said the name was because you were asking, who's the? Sorisha said, Nails D. Now the whole thing was put on Sorisha because, of course, Maria doesn't like Sorisha, but she said she does not like Sorisha. Kind of a situation, okay? So that is the thing that Maple was wanting to get to. Why is it that it ended up being Sorisha that was getting attacked by Neil about this situation when all she said was it's Neil, but the person that actually started this whole thing, because nobody will have a conversation if it wasn't for Emeigh, okay? Then it gets to a point where they are saying that the ladies on the other side are scared of Emeigh. And I think I agree with that, you guys. I think that even though Sorisha might have influence, but they know that one thing Sorisha is going to do is sit and have a conversation and she's not going to stand up and attack you and all of that. It's going to be verbal. But with Emeigh, I think nobody knew who Emeigh was. And so in a way, they were scared. Even them being upset about the situation, it was easy for them to direct it to Sorisha, then direct it to the right person, which is Emeigh. Because even Emeigh at the reunion is like, I don't understand how this ended up being Sorisha's fault when it was my fault. Even when I had admitted it's my fault, Neil, when he was speaking to me, he wasn't attacking me. He said, I'm going to speak to you respectfully because I respect you. And we had a conversation. Why did it end up being about Sorisha? I don't know, you guys, if we are getting it wrong that Maria doesn't like Sorisha, because I don't think she has said much positive things about Sorisha, even back in the first season that she did when they were still trying to be friends. Okay, so when she says that it's not like she doesn't like Sorisha, it confuses me honestly, you know. And I wish that she could just come out and say, yeah, I don't like Sorisha, and these are the reasons I don't like it. But she insists that it's not true. This narrative that she does not like Sorisha is not true. However, everything that we've seen in this past season and the season before indicates that Maria doesn't like Sorisha. There is a part that confuses me about Maria. That's why I say when the season began, because Maria did do that very genuine apology to Nogo. Remember when they were having that sit down, and I was like, this is the first time on Real Housewives somebody is apologizing, and I'm like, I have teary eyes because I really felt like it was genuine. So, like, she started a season seeming like a very genuine person, but by the end, she was very confusing because it was like on this side, she just does. I wish that she could tell us, because obviously there are things that happen that we don't see. I wish she could tell us what, okay, Sorisha did this to me. This is why I don't like her. Okay. But the situation, you guys, it was talked about, but I guess not really resolved because the person, the owner of the G, was not around. I feel like Sorisha is still confused as to why people are more upset at her for saying the name when Maria was the one that kept saying, who's D? who? And then she says Neil, and then they're all upset. I guess Sorisha was just supposed to keep quiet because maybe someone else would have ended up saying Neil. Maybe Emeigh would have ended up saying Neil, and because they are scared of Emeigh, they wouldn't have been as upset as they ended up being. Now, Maple does touch on the lie detector test, because I did think about that, you guys, and I was like, okay, what is Maria trying to prove? Because everybody agrees that she was sitting on Neil. Even her friends agreed that she was sitting on Neil. What she wanted people to know was that it wasn't anything more than just a friend sitting on a friend. But nobody was even arguing that. People were just thinking it's inappropriate. So my blood does get into saying, listen, what was that about? Sorry about that, you guys. I got disturbed. But I feel like, you guys, Maria wanted to be this lady or this housewife that is about receipts. She really wanted to be that cast member this season that brings the receipts. But it's just that her receipts were just not doing it. Okay. Remember when she was bringing, the phone call records between Neil and Sorisha, and we kept waiting that there was going to be something big that the messages were going to reveal, but nothing was revealed. And now with the lie detector test, it was the same. I didn't see the point, because the argument is not whether you sat on him or not, because you also agree that you sat on him, but it's more about the fact that you feel like they made it to sound like it was more than just a friend sitting on a friend. That's what you have an issue with, because what if your son now starts thinking you're having an affair with this guy or family members or whatever? Okay. I wish that she had explained it like that during the season, okay? But we don't get that. I guess that's why we have the reunion. So there was really no point in even doing the lie detector test. I don't know when she was planning to bring it up so that maybe it does what she thinks these receipts are supposed to do. Listen, you guys, I'm a receipt if I go planning, afanele planela ama-receipt, and you have to ngathini, if you have receipts, just keep them. Don't get the receipts and want to reveal them now. Okay, get the receipts and just keep them. There's going to be like a perfect moment, where you're like, yeah, what did you say? So yes, you guys, anyway, that's all that happened with this situation. Like I said, you guys, with Neil living, it's like, okay, it would have been nice for him to stay longer. But at the same time, because I have been saying, even though I'm the only person that says this, I don't like the husbands on the show. So I'm not missing him much. But I feel like maybe that's the reason Sorisha is not feeling like she's having closure, because then Neil didn't stay to explain himself. And also maybe she wanted to besafuna ukumgiva laphayana. Unil wavele wathi short left, because Uncle Vivian was like, guys, can you imagine? The less threatening race in South Africa is Indians, You don't see them as violent or anything like that. So can you imagine like Indian men and an Indian man threatening each other, Why did they get us that footage, eh? I want to see Vivian threatening Neil. But anyway, you guys, I guess it must have been serious, because Neil really looked like he was shaking. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Like it before Pumayona, share it with your friends, with your family, and even with strangers. Ngithanda kakhulu. Listen, nginizamile namhlanje, nginizamile kancane, ithi ngiyofunda ke manje. Ngithanda kakhulu. Ngingakhohlwa phela ukuthi nithi like.